Today on the podcast, I am so excited to have Nicole from South Carolina calling in. Nicole, it's good to have you.
Thanks, Deborah. I'm glad to be
Th-
here.
Thanks for joining us for this family and parenting series. Before we dive into your question, why don't you tell people, and I always love to hear this, how did you and I first get connected?
I had heard about some of your books and I found you over on Instagram. The first book that I read of yours was True Love Dates,
Oh,
and that really
wow.
helped me in a difficult season. And
Yeah.
so kind of worked through a lot of emotional trauma that I was going through from past relationships.
Wow. That's incredible.
So I
Okay.
just follow you on Instagram ever since.
I love that. And you look really familiar to me. Like your
Yeah.
face just looks familiar.
So when we're friends on Instagram, so I follow you. So I saw that you were in California around the time visiting with your family, around the time I was visiting my sister in California, and it just so happened that we were on the same beach on the same day when we were both, traveling. And so I had seen that on Instagram that you were kind of in the same area that we happened to be in that day. And then I saw your family on the beach and was like,
Wow.
I know who that is, and it was a little nerve-wracking to meet a celebrity like yourself in person. But I did come up and speak to you because I wanted you to know that like your books and your podcast and everything has had a positive influence on my life.
I totally remember that moment. And I knew your face looked so familiar. You just have such a friendly, familiar face, but it makes so much sense. I just remember that moment. My kids were running around the beach. It was kind of windy
Yeah.
and chilly, and I remember you came up to me and said that you're from South Carolina, but
Yeah.
you happened to be in California. It just felt like
Yep.
such a God moment when he
Yeah.
just connects his people to one
Yeah.
another in that way. And it's such a privilege for me to be able to get to meet you in real life.
Yeah.
So we didn't even get to talk that much then. So I'm so
Yeah.
excited that you found your way to the podcast and that it worked out. We didn't know that when we chose your call.
Right.
So this is really cool to see how God kind of orchestrated it and that we get a good chunk of time to just chat. This is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. It's the meeting we didn't get to have where we sit down and have coffee, sort of.
Exactly. Exactly. That's amazing. Okay. Well, I'm so looking forward to this. So tell me a little bit about, first of all, your family dynamic currently. Are you married? Do you have kids? If you do, what's their age range?
So I am married now. We've been married for 3 years, and we are like a Brady Bunch. We have my husband has 3 kids, and I have 3 kids that we
Wow.
brought into the marriage. We don't have any together. Don't plan on having any together. So my stepkids are 20, 19, and 17, and
Okay.
then my kids are 20, 16, and 11.
Wow. That is quite a spread.
We
First
have
of
lots of
all, how
teenagers.
on earth do you have a 20-year-old? Like you look 20.
Well, thanks.
This is incredible. Okay, so you have how many adult children?
Three. Two
And
who are away at college, so
got
they're
it.
living the college life, and then one who lives at home with us and works full time.
Okay. Great. And then you've got a 16-year-old
And an 11-year-old.
and
Mhm.
11-year-old as kind of
Yeah.
the tail ends.
Yeah. And so we do have some joint custody, joint parenting, like co-parenting factors in there as well. But mostly just when they're at my house, we do, their dad and I do co-parent well, as far as we both have similar standards and things for their behavior and, rewards and punishments and things like that.
That's so helpful. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't always work out that way, but when it
Right.
does, thank God for it. So technically, you are parenting day to day an 11-year-old and a 16-year-old. Did you say there was a 17-year-old as well?
Yes.
So an
Mhm.
11-year-old, 16-year-old, and 17-year-old that you're kind of day-to-day parenting.
Right.
Okay. And then the other three are kind of doing their thing, adult children.
A lot of, yeah, it's this weird like switch to now we're more of just like helping guide them. I mean, not to say we don't hear
Right.
from them every day or at least every week to just offer some guidance and stuff, but it
Right.
is, you can feel the shift.
Oh yeah, the role changes
Yeah.
from I don't want to say the word control because that seems so intense, But when your kids are little, I mean, you do have a lot of control. Like you get to
Yeah.
do this, you can't do this. And it slowly begins to shift more to influence,
Yes. Yeah.
not control, but influence. Like I'm still
Mhm.
connected to you. I want to influence your decisions. I have opinions and thoughts and encouragement and affirmation, but it looks a little bit different when they're adult children. And I think the 16 and 17-year-old, it's tricky because you're in the middle of both worlds. As you don't have
Right.
full control, you don't have full influence. Like it's just a little bit of both. So
Yeah.
what's the main question on your mind?
So with my 16-year-old specifically, he's a boy. And so we have seen this shift in our parenting of having to learn like it shifts your whole mindset is like not that long from now, he's going to be, just 2 years from now, he's planning to go to college. He's going to be living on his own and kind of having to have self-control on his own. So
Right.
how do we help him with that when technology is involved? Specifically video games. We've done a lot of different things over the years when he was younger, as far as really strict with minutes and things like that. This summer was kind of, we got real, just we're really having a hard time with it. So I sort of shifted and said, you can play as much as you want as long as you're being responsible with your time. You're still getting up, you're still going to work, doing those things. I just want to make sure, sometimes we don't know until a couple years down the road how it worked for us, but I just want to talk to a professional like yourself about what is the best way to have balance in this with the end
Yeah.
in mind.
Okay, so let's start with how did the summer go? How did the approach of you're free to engage with video games? That's that's the freedom, but the boundary was as long as you're going to work, doing your chores, being respectful, like doing what you need to do, you've got some freedom then as long as we see that you're doing what you need to do, you have freedom to play video games. It's like in your court. It's up to you. How did it go?
As far as the video games go and with the expectations we put in place, as far as, doing what you're asked to do with a good attitude, spending time with the family, reasonable amounts, always coming to dinner, like we always share meals together. And so he did well with all of that. Of course, he played more than I would have wanted him to. But again, I'm trying to let go of that, not counting minutes and stuff and going, oh, how many minutes a week is he on? But so he did really well with the expectations we put up.
And was able to work and do what he
Yeah.
needed to do, get there on time, wake up when he
Yes.
needed to.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
to me, that is a really good sign at age 16. And I think, you had mentioned that you kind of waffle between being really strict to being really free. I don't consider what you're telling me really free.
Okay.
I consider it freedom within limits
Okay. Hmm.
because it's not
That's
like,
true.
hey, you can play as much as you want, period.
Hmm.
You can stay up till 5 a.m. You can miss work in the morning. You can miss dinner. You don't have to go to church. You don't have to. That's complete freedom with no boundaries. Your boundaries are, hey, we're giving you this freedom, but there's conditions to the
Right.
freedom. And the conditions are A, B, C, D, and E. And to me, that's a very healthy approach because it does give him some autonomy. And if
Hmm.
he starts missing dinner, if he starts sleeping in and missing work, if he starts neglecting his chores, then that freedom changes.
Yeah.
So it's freedom within limits. And I actually like that uh, style of parenting because it starts with the positive, it starts with the affirmation, it starts with the freedom, and your level of freedom is up to you
Right.
rather than them feeling like my level of freedom is up to my parents. No, your level of freedom is up to you based on are you able to maintain the responsibilities that you have in life? And if the answer is no, I'm not able to, then you are choosing to have less freedom with your video games. Like when you kind of frame it like that versus a punishment, it changes things. You're
Yeah.
you're almost looking at the positive of the freedom that you get if you get to do all of these things rather than the negative of what we're going to take from you if you don't do all these things.
Right.
And I feel like that actually makes a big shift. It puts the ownership and the responsibility on
Yeah.
him. And the key with this though is once you start seeing things slipping through the cracks, then there has to be follow up. I
Right.
think where parents go wrong is maybe they start with that approach, but then things start slipping through the cracks, like, oh, he's not at dinner tonight and he's making excuses and he didn't do his chores and he's being late for work. And we just kind of continue to let it go rather than revisit, tweak,
Mhm.
adjust, hey, here's what we're seeing. So we have to adjust it in this way.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think
So
that's a really great
staying
approach.
vigilant, staying
Staying
vigilant in the freedom, like in
exactly
the,
in the boundaries that you're
yeah.
setting. Like, hey,
Mhm.
we're going to respond this way if we see things slipping because we
Yeah.
care about you. And so as long as you're able to own it and as long as you're able to be responsible for it, you have freedom. Freedom and responsibility go hand in hand. The more responsibility you have, the more freedom you get. And that's how it should be. But then the opposite is also true. The less responsibility you have, the less freedom you have. And
Mhm.
that's why, even with different children, it's like, well, why does he get to have freedom with his video games? And why does she get to stay up late and I don't?
All the time.
Because more responsibility equals more freedom. And if you're ready for more responsibility, if you're ready for more chores, if you're ready for more expectations around the house, if you're ready for more expectations with your schoolwork, then you may have more freedom. But they're connected. Freedom and
Yeah.
responsibility have to go hand in hand. And the less responsibility I'm seeing, the less freedom that has to happen. Do you feel like he, I mean, how do you feel like your relationship was with him this summer? Just if you just kind of focus on relationally.
I think that I would say that is again, the time that he spent on the video games was more than what I wanted, but relationally, it really helped because we went from me being just kind of like the bad guy all the time, because I was the one that was saying, 5 more minutes, your time's almost up. Are you done? Are you done yet? You're supposed to be off, to where then it was a little bit more freedom. And I did find him choosing, like, we started trying to set like we would go on an evening walk together,
Yeah.
and he would say, if maybe I didn't suggest it today, he would say, are we going to do that? So he
Wow.
was choosing to step away from the video games at times when he could have been playing.
I love that. And I hope you really
Yeah.
recognize that, make a big deal out of that. Let him know how much it means to you that he
Yeah.
is showing responsibility and choosing to be with family and choosing to have boundaries with his own devices because he could have just been like, nah, I'm just playing. I'm good, mom.
Not to say that he's not always, it's not always, it's not everything, but I did appreciate, like, I did notice that, when I
Exactly.
reflect back.
And that's the key. You want to catch those moments.
Yeah.
When it comes to parenting him at this age and stage, you want to call out the good that you are seeing and
Hmm.
affirm it so that it grows. I think oftentimes we're good at calling out the bad that we're seeing because we're
Yeah.
terrified and we don't want the bad to grow. So we end up talking about that more
Yeah.
than, hey, I'm really seeing responsibility. Thank you for unloading the dishes before I even had to say anything. Thank you
Right.
for coming downstairs and spending time with us when you could have just been hanging out upstairs tonight. I love spending time with you. It means a lot to us to have your presence. It just adds so much to our family. Thank you for your maturity. Thank you for like I'm seeing all the good and and the more you call it out, the more it grows. It's that positive affirmation. Not to say you're never going to call out the negative, but man, we definitely get it flip-flopped with parenting because
Yeah.
we're so fearful and cautious and we don't want them to mess up that we end up spending more time calling out the 10 things that we didn't like today rather than the 10 things that we did like.
Yeah.
because we take those things for granted. It's like, oh, well, you're
Yeah.
supposed to be doing these things, but call it out,
Yeah.
make a big deal of it, make him feel like he's seen and noticed, appreciated, valued, loved, wanted. Because then it's like, oh, I love when you are with us on these walks. I love your opinions. I love chatting with you. I love hearing all the random things you're learning. And
Yeah.
even this is a stretch for some of us moms, but even connecting with him on the things that he loves. Like, I can't tell you how many Minecraft conversations I have had over the past month, and I'm like, I really don't care about Minecraft.
Yeah.
Or NFL conversations about Saquon Barkley and all of these things. And I'm like, okay, this is not my world of interest, but I am interested because I'm interested in you. Like, who have you been
Yeah.
playing with? And what levels are you at? And teach me what's the idea behind this game? And how would you make it better? If you could make your own video game, what would that look like? And just finding a connection point, being intentional about entering his world. Sometimes we literally just play Mario Kart with the kids because the boys, that's just where they love it.
Yeah.
And I want them to remember me in their world as well. Like, I'm not going to play video games every night for sure, but at the same time, I want to connect with them. I want to
Yeah.
show them that I love these things because I love you. Like, this is a
Yeah.
string that connects me to you, and therefore, I want to be a part of it. I want to hear about it. Just like I want them to sit and engage with me when I'm talking about random things like the book ideas I have or what I'm working on, and maybe they don't care that much, but they care about me. And so they
Yeah.
listen and engage. And so it's that type of intentionality with him. And what a sweet age, 16, like
Yeah.
a young man. He's still a boy, but he's kind of a man, and he's got a couple years till you launch him into the world. And you're absolutely right. You're not going to be there to say, 1 more minute, 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
Should you be doing this? Do you need to go shower? Should you brush your teeth?
Yeah.
Because as long as he does what he needs to do in his time and his way, maybe it's okay to have that freedom and that flexibility. And maybe that adjusts now that the school year has started. Okay, now the expectations look a little bit different. Summer, there was a little bit more freedom because,
Yeah.
you were meeting your responsibilities, but also the responsibilities were less. So
Yeah.
now that school has
Schoolwork.
started, what could that look like? I think it's really good instead of telling them at this age to sit down and have a conversation with them where they're part of the solution.
Okay.
Like, hey, here's the problem that I'm seeing. Let's find a solution. You know, not that you have a problem currently, but just even if there becomes a problem of like,
Right.
okay, let's sit down and talk about this. Like, how can we solve this together? Because my heart is for you to succeed and your heart is for you to succeed and my heart is for us to have a good relationship. So how can we solve this together? What could this look like throughout the school year? What are healthy expectations we can have of you? That you feel like, yeah, I can do that. How could that look?
Yeah.
And so, in our world, we've been letting our 13-year-old stay up a little bit later than usual. And we've been watching the Chosen series with him and my daughter, who's 15. But that actually comes with some responsibility. Like, if we're going to do this in the evenings together when the younger boys go to bed, and we're going to have this special time together and we're going to watch this series together, that freedom comes with some responsibility. And as long as you can keep that responsibility up, going to bed in time, doing what you need to do before bedtime so that everything's ready for the next day, as long as you're keeping up with those things, we will have that freedom. And that will be a really fun activity. But if things start to shift and that responsibility starts to shift, then the freedom also has to shift. And sitting down, even with our 13-year-old, having these conversations with him. Um, Preventatively. I think
Yeah.
oftentimes we react after
Yes.
it goes wrong, but thinking now as a school year starting preventatively and having these conversations with him in advance. And I think it also makes him feel mature. Like they're sitting down and asking me to help come up with a solution because ultimately When he's out in the world, guess who has to find solutions to his problems?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
him, you
That's
know?
one thing that shifted is just having these older kids. You know, we're still guiding and helping, but yeah, so much is just if you think you have control of your kids, wait till they go to college. You know, you just there's so much that goes on that you don't know. And you really have to trust God and trust that you've done a good job like instilling good
Exactly.
values in them. And so yeah, it definitely shifts for my younger kids how I view parenting now.
Right. And to be honest with you, the biggest factor in your influence over him, your 16-year-old,
Mhm.
is your relationship. Your relationship is the control system that allows you to still have influence in his life. Like it can help shift him this way or that way. It is like the strings that connect you so that if you go this way, he goes this way. If you go that way, he goes that way. You're still connected by relationship, and that is the main thing that builds influence in his life. If you have no
Mhm.
relationship, you have no influence. He doesn't
Yeah.
care what you think, you know? So even considering the next couple years as prime time for building a relationship so that you have influence when he's no longer in your home. It's like you really have you're spending these next 2 years and the goal is to cultivate relationship as much as possible so that you have as much influence as possible when he's no longer under your roof.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're doing a really good job with him.
Thank you.
And he sounds like a good kid.
He is a good kid.
It's
He
incredible.
we all
He's
have
16, you
struggles.
know?
Yeah, but he loves video games, he loves cars, but he loves church too, and he volunteers with church and serves with his youth group. So I'm really proud of him.
Spend some time today intentionally telling him all the things that you've noticed, how
Mm.
responsible he's been, the ways that he's serving and showing up for God and for your family that you really appreciate. So let's spotlight those things even intentionally today and just watch as we water those things with our attention and our affirmation and our validation that they begin to grow.
I think that's a good plan.
Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your family with us. I think this conversation is going to help a lot of people.
It's kind of the years of parenting that we don't talk a lot about because we're all
Yeah,
just trying to figure it out.
I know. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Well, so good to get to chat with you over fake coffee.
Yeah. It was nice to get to see you again,
I
Deborah.
hope I get to see you in real life again someday soon.
Yeah, sounds good.